What is up, DS3 TV? We are back for another video. This one is um this one is Kings and Generals, the Ottoman Wars, Part 9. Ottoman Empire Part 9. That is like the name of the video, that was Ottoman Wars. But yeah, so it's another video by Kings and Generals. You know, we love that. Battles of Otranto and Chalderan? I think that's how you say it. But yeah, so that's good. Yeah, I didn't make any videos yesterday, so that was kind of bad, but yeah, you know, kind of just need a little bit of a break for a second. I was also fixing Streamlabs, my Streamlabs OBS, because that hasn't, like, I haven't streamed in like a week, so I needed to see what was going on with that because it kept crashing, and that was good. So that's the best part about that. And yeah, so let's get into this video, and also subscribe to the channel. I want to get 1,000 subscribers by Valentine's Day. Thank you guys for 248 subscribers. That is insane. And yeah, let's get into it and play.
In the previous episodes in our series on the Ottoman Wars, we have covered the struggle in Albania and Moldavia. Although the Ottomans were slowly getting closer to the peak of their power, the resistance against them was mounting, both in Europe and in the Middle East. The rule of Mehmed II was coming to an end, and a succession would prove to be a tricky affair. The Ottoman Wars were just beginning. With the death of Skanderbeg, Venice took over the defences of a large portion of the Balkan coast. This was a continuation of the Ottoman-Venetian War of 1463 to 1479, and by the end of it, the Republic was exhausted and was forced to sign the Treaty of Constantinople. Mehmed II received Euboea, Lemnos, and most of Albania. The conflict with the Prince of Moldavia, Stefan III, was also winding down, so the Ottomans were able to concentrate their forces against the Kingdom of Hungary, which at this point was ruled by Matthias I and was arguably one of the strongest kingdoms in Europe, with the legendary Black Army defending it. A number of raids were conducted into Transylvania via Wallachia in this period. Eventually, Matthias gave the voivode of Transylvania, Stefan V Báthory, enough forces, and the latter met the Ottoman raiding troops at the Battle of Bredfield on the 13th of October, 1479. The Ottomans under Ali Koca Bey and the Prince of Wallachia, Basarab IV, had between 10 and 20,000 troops, mostly Akungur light raiders, while Stefan V commanded around 15,000 Hungarians, Zeklers, Transylvanian Saxons and Serbs. Both sides divided their troops into three groups. Initially, the Ottoman right and centre pushed their counterparts. The situation became even more critical for the Hungarian forces when Stefan fell from his horse and was almost captured, only saved by one of his knights at the last moment.
Oh, wow.
The Ottoman leaders usually stayed behind the centre in order to observe the battlefield, but Ali Koca Bey commanded the left flank and fought in the front lines, which prevented him from judging the tactical situation. Famous Hungarian general Pál Kinizsi was commanding Stefan's right flank. He managed to lure the Ottoman left away from the centre, and then rapidly attacked and dispersed it. His cavalry then attacked the Ottoman centre, and soon the whole Ottoman army was in retreat. According to different sources, between 5 and 10,000 warriors of the Sultan were killed, while the Hungarians lost less than 3,000. As the Ottomans often used their border vassals in these smaller attacks, Hungary got some respite due to the victory at Bredfield. Sultan Mehmed now set his sights on strengthening his position in the Mediterranean and on conquering Italy, as according to some sources, Rome was his goal ever since he took Constantinople. The disunity in Italy was promising, and the newly acquired Albanian lands were a good springboard. The peace with Venice also her navy didn't need to contend with its formidable navy anymore. In May of 1480, the Ottomans launched an invasion of Rhodes, but the Knights Hospitaller managed to repel the assault by August despite the overwhelming Ottoman numbers. At the same time, the invasion of Italy had begun. In July of 1480, a 20,000-strong Ottoman army under Gedik Ahmed Pasha set sail for the Kingdom of Naples, making landfall near Otranto. The garrison initially considered it to be a smaller raid and sallied out. As more Ottoman troops landed on the shores, the defenders were pushed back and forced to return to the city. The Ottoman commander sent a messenger, demanding that the city surrender and convert to Islam. The citizens and the garrison, which had around 2,000 soldiers, declined and managed to send messengers asking for help. Meanwhile, the Ottoman cannons were disembarked from the ships. On the 29th of July, the Ottomans surrounded the city and their cannons started bombarding the walls. As the garrison was too small to defend the outer walls, it moved to the citadel. The Ottomans quickly took the city, looting and burning as they did. Their cannons were moved to destroy the walls of the citadel. The siege continued for 15 days. On the 11th of August, the Ottoman artillery breached the northeastern wall and their troops entered the citadel. The garrison, alongside 10,000 citizens, were massacred and thousands were enslaved. According to the sources, 800 men were left alive, and the Ottomans tried to forcibly convert them to Islam, but they refused and were beheaded.
Well, I'll say, how can you force them? Like, yeah, of course they refuse. They're like religion. Like I always say, religion is something that it will probably not change that much over time because it's, your beliefs and core morals are based in your religion, right? So, that's usually how that goes. I mean, of course people do convert to different religions, but that's on own free will. They most likely won't do that if they have their own free will to not do that. And as you can see, even if they don't, they're probably just not going to convert.
These 800 became martyrs, and their death became a banner uniting the Christian forces. The Ottomans then raided the cities of Lecce, Taranto, Brindisi and Viesta. Most of their troops returned to Albania, leaving 1,500 as a garrison in Otranto. The kingdoms of Naples, Sicily and Hungary besieged the city in May of 1481. As Sultan Mehmed died on the 3rd of May, and with him the plan to take Italy, no help arrived for the garrison, and in August it surrendered. Mehmed didn't name a successor, so his sons Bayezid and Cem raced to the capital to capture the throne. The former was quicker and was declared Sultan Bayezid II on May 21st. Cem captured the cities in Anatolia and defeated Bayezid's forces on May 28th. He declared himself the Sultan and offered to Bayezid that they divide the empire. The latter refused, consolidated his forces and moved against Cem himself, this time defeating his brother at Yeni Shahir. Cem fled to the Mamluks in Egypt, then to the Hospitallers, and ended up in the court of Pope Innocent VIII, who was willing to use the Ottoman prince as a bargaining chip against Bayezid. The new Sultan continued the Ottoman military conquests. Smaller raids were used to loot the areas on the borders or to punish rebellious vassals. One of the targets of the raids was the Kingdom of Croatia, which was in dynastic union with Hungary. In 1491, such a raid ended up in a Croatian victory at the Battle of Verpile. In 1493, the Ottoman ruler in Bosnia, Hadim Yakub Pasha, made another raid into Croatia, and the locals raised their forces to meet him at Kabava. Both sides had around 10,000 troops, but while the Ottoman army was made up of cavalry, the Croatians fielded a mix of infantry and cavalry. Initially, the Croatian forces occupied steep hills, and the Ottoman leader knew that he couldn't win a battle attacking uphill. He sent 3,000 horsemen to set an ambush to the right of these hills, while 3,000 stayed to the left. The rest moved against the Croatians. After the initial attack, the Ottomans started retreating, and the Croatians pursued them, descending into more open terrain. The main Ottoman forces re-engaged them, while the two hidden groups attacked them from the right and rear.
Oh, wow.
Soon the Croatian left retreated and was crushed. The center and the right were pushed back and then surrounded. Almost the entire Croatian army was massacred, while the Ottomans lost only a few hundred. During this period, the Ottomans renewed hostilities with Venice and started their wars against Poland. Moldavia became an Ottoman vassal, while the Venetians were forced to give up their holdings on the Peloponnese after losing a number of naval engagements. Meanwhile, the main threat for the Ottomans was rising in the east, in Iran. The Seljuk, Mongol and then the Timurid invasions changed the balance of power in the region, as more Turkic and Turkified tribes were settling here in their wake. By 1500, Iran, Iraq and most of the Caucasus were under the control of the Ak-Kuyunlu dynasty, which challenged Mehmed II in 1476 during the Battle of Otluk-Bely. Since that defeat, the Ak-Kuyunlu had not been trying to expand to the west anymore. Internal strife was weakening their realm, and in 1501, a member of the Safavid dynasty, Ismail I, supported by a number of Turkoman tribes, occupied Tabriz and declared himself Shah. In 1503, he defeated the last Ak-Kuyunlu Sultan, and soon he was in control of a vast empire. Ismail and his dynasty belonged to the Shia branch of Islam, and that put him on a collision course with the Sunnite Ottomans. The new Shah decided to test his Ottoman and Mamluk neighbors by attacking Dulkadir, which was under their protection, in 1507. Neither state responded, but the Ottoman prince Selim retaliated by raiding Safavid territory adjacent to the area he governed. At the same time, Bayezid asked another Sunnite leader, Muhammad Shaybani, to attack the Safavids. The latter obliged.
So he didn't want to attack, I guess because he was already in war with, in a full-scale war with the Venetians. He didn't want to, I guess, start another war where he would probably lose because he didn't have enough strength on both sides to keep it up.
And moved against their holdings in Central Asia in 1510. Ismail moved swiftly, attacked Shaybani at Merv, and defeated and killed him with ease, despite having inferior numbers. The Shah would reciprocate in kind, and his Shia supporters rebelled against Ottoman rule in Anatolia in 1511. Although this rebellion was defeated quickly, it was just the start, as many Turkoman tribes in eastern Anatolia were Shia. At the same time, the Ottoman Empire was facing another succession. The ailing Sultan declared his older son Ahmed as heir apparent in 1511. His younger son Selim rebelled and, despite initial setbacks, took Istanbul in the April of 1512 and dethroned his father.
Oh, wow.
Soon Ahmed's army was defeated and Selim I became the Ottoman Sultan. He still faced an increasing number of Shia Muslims in his realm. Selim would use the religion against the supporters of Ismail, and his scholars soon declared the Shia to be heretics. The rulers wrote each other a number of letters full of insults. In 1512, Selim ordered the execution of more than 40,000 Shia in Anatolia, and also sent a letter to the Shaybanids to request another invasion of the Safavid realm. All that made war inevitable. Ismail was forced to send a portion of his troops east to face the Shaybanids. In 1514, Selim started his campaign against Ismail. The Ottomans had around 70,000 troops and more than 100 cannons, while Ismail could field 50,000, most of them cavalry. He had no artillery. Initially, the Safavid Shah used scorched earth tactics to weaken Selim's forces, but as the armies were moving within Iran and close to the Safavid capital of Tabriz, Ismail needed to make a stand, and in August he decided to do that at the valley of Chaldiran. According to some sources, Ismail's advisors suggested attacking after dark to prevent the Ottomans from using their artillery, but the Shah considered himself a knight and declined. The sources for the battle are extremely conflicted, so we will just present one of the depictions. Selim sent his janissaries forward, keeping the rest of his troops back, sure that his elite troops would be able to use their gunpowder weapons to disperse the enemy cavalry. Yet the Safavid cavalry led by Ismail himself managed to repulse the janissaries. The Ottoman Sultan then moved his Sepahis forward to cover the retreat of the janissaries, but the Sepahis were also driven back. At this point in the battle, both groups returned to their initial positions. Ismail ordered his cavalry to divide into two columns and attack the extreme flanks of the Ottoman cavalry. Safavid troops both on the left and the right flank were successful and inflicted heavy damage on the Ottoman cavalry. They were then commanded to converge on the Ottoman centre. Yet Selim, who observed the battle from a nearby hill, was expecting that. His cannons were now positioned at an angle targeting the impending cavalry attack. Thousands of Safavid horsemen died under artillery volleys, and their army was forced to retreat. The Ottoman cavalry counterattacked and dispersed the remaining enemy forces. Once again, we don't know the exact numbers, but both sides suffered heavy losses. In early September, Selim entered Tabriz, but his troops were on the verge of mutiny, and soon he was forced to retreat. The Ottomans took control of eastern Anatolia, parts of the Caucasus and Mesopotamia, yet the wars between these states were far from over. Thank you for watching another episode in our series on the Ottoman Wars. New videos in this series are on the way, so make sure you are subscribed.
That was a good video, and yeah, so talk to you guys in the next video. Yeah. So, see you guys in, I guess, well, when it comes to the Ottoman Empire, see you guys in part 10 of this series. And I'll see you guys in the next video. And peace.